voters who would be attending the campaign. So clothing has been used as a silent yet audible medium of propaganda, playing a significant role in Nigeria's electoral process. You see these clothes in their different colors, patterns, and motifs being used to communicate to the electorate and the voters during campaign. So I'll now go on to the historical background of Nigerian electoral process and the use of clothing. The use of clothing in Nigerian electoral process dates back to the commencement of the electoral process in Nigeria at all. During the colonial era, we see these contestants for electoral positions using traditional clothes, and that's because there is a particular traditional attire that is attached to different geographical regions in Nigeria. For instance, among the Yoruba, you find them using agbada or iro and buba. So our brothers in the south, they use wrapper. So when they go out to campaign, they sort of put on this traditional attire just to get the voters, the electorate, to identify with them, such that we are wearing your traditional attire, and that means that we identify with you as a people. So this use of clothing continued to the post-colonial era, but then we have seen a different dimension of the use of clothes, in that now they no longer use just traditional attire. They have now moved on to customize party logos, to customize the contestants' pictures, symbols of the political parties. And we have seen that this has added more flavor to campaigning, to electioneering in Nigeria. So I just want to take case studies of the use of clothing for electoral process in Nigeria. For instance, during the 1993 general election, the presidential candidate of the SDP, MQ Abiola, and his supporters employed the use of these clothes conveying the party's name, the logo, their symbol, which is the horse, were used virtually throughout the nation to communicate their vision and mission for the country. They used the symbol of the horse, and that's hope. That's a symbol of figure, of strength, meaning that they are strong enough, they are viable to restore the hope of Nigeria during the unseemly military era. So I move on now to talk about the intersection between fashion and politics. Because like I said, these clothing come in different colors, vibrant colors, motifs, patterns, and of course there's a beauty, that's beauty to these electoral processes. There's the use of traditional dress and political identity. Now, when they go to, for instance, they are coming to Ibadan, they sort of put on agbada with their agbada made in Ankara or Adire or Ashoke, whatever it is, with their party's logo, with their party's logo, with the symbol, just to identify with the Yorubas who are in Ibadan. Then again, these individual contestants have also used their individual style, so to say, to also get the support of these voters, of the electorates. For instance, during the just concluded election, the presidential candidate of the APC, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, he has a specific kind of cap that he wears. We saw other supporters, for instance, the governor of Lagos State, and other high-ranking officials of the APC also putting on this cap, signifying that they are supporting, they are paying allegiance to him as their candidate. They've also used, like I said, the party logos, the party color, the party symbols, just to communicate to the electorates. There's also the use of political structures, just to add value to the campaign arena. For instance, there's a difference between the kind of clothing that the National Working Committee would use. There's a different one for the women leaders, a different one for the youth wing, a different one for those in the zonal working committee. And this add color, adds flavor to the campaigning and process. So now we'll move on to clothing as a propaganda tool in election. Now, like I said earlier, the make use of clothing to communicate, to convey messages. The message that they convey is in form of propaganda to make people aware of what they would do for them if they are being elected into position. So they use their slogans, their symbols on clothing to convey subtle messages about the party and their candidate. This clothing also portray unity and solidarity within the party and among their supporters. The use of these clothes, of course, it is all of them who wear the clothes. Like it symbolizes unity and solidarity within the party. And there's no way there will be division in the party and all of them would want to appear in the same clothing. So that sort of represents unity, so that if you vote for us, we'll also be able to unite Nigeria as we have been able to unite our party. Then it promotes a sense of social cohesion and national identity. During the campaign, on the campaign ground, there is a lot of social interactions going on there. And the fact that they make use of our indigenous clothing, Ankara, Adire, Ashoke, also promotes a sort of cultural identity as a nation. And then another dimension that we have seen over the years is the use of celebrities for campaigning. Contestants have a way of getting in music artists, those in the Nollywood, to also campaign for them, because such artists would invariably be able to convince their own fans to also vote for the party they are supporting. So they have used this maximally in recent electoral processes. And then they have also used the media. The media has also been an amplifying tool or medium for this provision of use of clothing, because when they have elections, you have media houses coming in to cover this campaign process. Now, we want to look at the impacts. What has been the impacts of the use of this clothing on our electoral process in Nigeria? The first is that they've been able to effectively communicate the party's vision and mission to the people. Now, through the use of these clothing, people who cannot even read can identify with these symbols and logos and know that, okay, this symbol is for APC, this is for PD, the umbrella is for PDP, the broom is for APC, and through that, they're able to educate a large number of people about their party ideology, mission, and vision. And then they've also been able to use these clothing to influence voters' perception and behavior. For instance, the use of this clothing has helped them, like I said, communicate and able to influence them to vote for them during the electoral process, because they're able to communicate effectively their vision for the country through this clothing. And then they've also used that to garner massive support from the electorate, regardless of their social, political, or religious affiliations. And that's because the language of clothes transcends ethnicity, transcends religion. And at this point, during this campaign process, they're able to use these clothes to level social status, in that the kind of clothes that the presidential candidates will wear will be the same clothes that the women leader will wear, will be same that those who have lower social status would get. So at this point, they level the status of everyone attending the campaign. And then with the use of this clothing, political parties have been able to reach a wider audience, so that they might not have been able to ordinarily, because everyone wearing this clothes around, in a way, is a mobile billboard for the political parties. So they're able to reach a wider audience of supporters by incorporating the use of this clothing into their electoral process. And invariably, use of this clothing help ensures victory for political parties during the election, because people who have joined in wearing the clothes, who have sang with them, who have dressed with them during the election, we definitely want to vote for them during the election. And then they've also seen emerging trends in the use of clothing for electoral process. For instance, now they no longer use just Ankara. They now make use of, they now produce things like caps, like footwear, souvenir, kyoda, wristband, and so on and so forth, just to propagate widely the message of the political parties. Beyond clothing, beyond gaining supporters votes, we have seen that the use of clothing has transformed the electoral politics in Nigeria. It has added beauty, it has added flavor, added color to the electoral process in Nigeria. And it has been able to influence tremendously to the behavior of the voters during election. It has acted as a mediating force between the electorates and the contestants. And like I said earlier, it's sort of level the status. Now, the campaign ground, nobody is senior. They're all equal just because they want to get the votes of the electorate. But then, even though use of clothing has become prominent in the electoral process, the use of clothing alone does not guarantee a party's victory during election, because a lot of factors will be considered before a candidate will decide to choose whoever he or she decides to vote for. But then, the use of this clothing, to a large extent, have influenced people's choice of candidates for electable posts in Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You've said so much on electoral and clothing. Wow, that's a good work you have there. Talking about how clothing transfers the electoral practices in Nigeria. And, clothing has so much, to talk about when it comes to election. It communicates a lot. Okay. We're supposed to be 3. You're supposed to be 4, but now we're 2. I think we have enough time to talk and then discuss. If I know that we are not enough, I would have allowed Munachi to finish up her presentation. But then I think let's just proceed. I'll just give a summary of what we have, and then we'll open the floor to questions. Or is there anything anyone wants to say before I proceed? Hello? Okay, so let me just give a summary of what I have. So if there's any question, you can ask ourselves. Okay, the first presenter talked about clothing and hello. Okay. Talked about clothing, talked about patterns and colors, how we can use it to convey messages. She also talked about the economic importance of it, how it provides jobs and then income, provides income for the stakeholders and every other person that is involved in the process. Talked about the uses, which has to do with funerals. Talked about culture. Also talked about the festival, how it is being used in different festivals and their meanings. Also talked about collective identity, how it provides solidarity and the bond, shared traditions and values. Talked about cultural revitalization of traditions. Talking about the weaving techniques and so many others. She mainly pointed on symbolisms of their designs, the colors, what they are all up to. And the second presenter also made mention of, she actually focused on election, how print fabrics convey messages. She actually hits the point, talking about the historical background and the use of clothing, talked about how elections are being, and she used a case study, using the Abiola election as a case study when she tried to explain some certain things. She talked about the intersections between politics and aesthetics, how they mix, the dressings and the sewing to convey politics and also convey he wears his cap. There's a particular design on his cap, irrespective of the color. Those designs are always there, always woven on his cap, and that shows an identity, a political identity. And his people that works with him, always, whenever they want to show that solidarity, you see them wearing that kind of design, So she also talked about propaganda, using slogans, symbols to portray propaganda. talked about unity, how it promotes social interaction. She also made mention of media, that media are also part of those that promote this print fabric when they convey it, when they talk about it, when they show whatever they want to report on tellies, they have a way of, promoting it to the people. So she also talked about influence of voters. Yes, with those fabrics, they're able to influence voters. With those fabrics, they're able to communicate, let voters know that there are differences. This particular party is known for these symbols. These are the symbols you're supposed to use to identify a particular party. These are the colors that are meant for you to remember when you want to make, your voting. So even those that are not educated, she also made us to understand that even when you're not educated, if you're able to identify the colors and the symbols, you will know the party to vote for. So it's also on the educating part of it. Influences, talk about social level, how it brings everybody as one, unity. Whether you are the president, you are the whoever, whether you are so rich, irrespective of who you are, for the fact that you're wearing a farmer, it brings that social status of we are one, we are same, and with that, it helps people to have that unity and that togetherness to say, okay, fine, we do it together, we are all one, okay, when it comes to elections. So they've all made a very good point, and these papers are all very interesting. With this, I just want to put in one or two things about print fabrics, and then we can open the floor to questions. Print fabrics, actually, since 21st century, African print fabrics has witnessed an extension in popularity more than what it used to be beyond African continent. It's ubiquitous and it has a very high value these days. Economically, it makes so much sense, okay? Its uses has gone beyond clothing and providing warmth for us. When we talk about fashion, is there? Talk about politics, is there? Talk about cultures, is there? Talk about home and interior decors, is there? Talk about protection, using it as, nose marks, medical aspect of it, nose marks, even in the kitchen, for protective measures when you want to pick up your hot pans and all those stuffs, wearing of your aprons, they're all part of protective measures that print fabrics have been part of. Talk about accessories, aesthetics. These days, they use it for bags. Is there anything they don't use print fabrics for? I don't think that anything that has to do with clothing, fabric is there, print fabric is there. So it's been so useful to us. Talk about the economic aspects, So there's so much to talk about print fabric. Recently, we were told, according to the director of UNESCO, we're told that 37 out of 54 countries produce cotton. And an exporter of textiles of the value of $15.5 billion rather textiles, clothing and footwear, we have 23 the floor to questions. If we have people around to ask their questions, the floor is open. You can ask your questions to the presenters.
I think it's okay. Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm sorry, I didn't get your name. Malachi. All right. Thank you very much. So I was going to start this way. Well, I'm going to change my mind. Let me start in another way. By first in that I thought you would give us an instance with your outfit. when you mentioned the fabrics, that I was thinking you would get a particular point when you give us an instance with your fabrics, and then you will give us, you will demonstrate for us with your fabrics. But that's okay. We didn't get that from you. It's okay. So you mentioned that there are events that wear prints and fabrics too, and then the question dropped in my mind. You get instances such as funerals, birthdays, initiations, and that's what initiation got here. Okay, now, so is there a particular pattern for ceremonies? For instance, you mentioned the case of Catholic women. So with the particular one you wore, and then there were 2 women here that wore just not any, just the usual patterns. So am I safe to wear any pattern of African print, and I will not be attracting some other kind of message, and not be passing some other kind of message? For instance, when we have the red, when we see the yellow one, we see the black one, exactly. Is there a particular print or a particular pattern that projects that, so that I won't be wearing print ignorantly? Question. Community. There's somebody asked this number by maybe someone has the transparent in our house, and then she sees the next day of the actions going for, then this is to be long, because this is to be simple. That's it. Identity. Now identify that person with. This is like the family business, maybe now there's supposed to be the community or Mexico administrations, and those something like the client this person must be or statement. The person is not entering. That is the outcome for that entry. So start looking at that. You actually wonder that. But how do you get to this statement? So it's a good question, really. And the way African print families are, it's supposed to, especially when you visit your community, it's not supposed to go out of the community. It's all questions, all questions. But of course, there are times you really cannot, what they call it, how I streamline those things and say, yes, it's supposed to be natural, and organization. People, the way it was, I believe, in other times, once you learn it, everyone knows that this is for this particular person. But over time, we tend to not stay into almost and anybody. That was really an issue of identity too. Because we are not taking into consideration that this is actually supposed to be a part of the it's the first issue of identity. So generally now, what's your opinion on that? Is any kind of yes, it's just I like the market, I like fabric, and I bought it. So I'm safe to also do that. Yes, all of us are. Thank you. All right, I think that's okay. I'm okay.
Okay. Can I add a little to what she has said? Print fabric is for everyone. Everyone is for everyone. So mostly if there is a group that wants to use it as a uniform, there's a special way that is being sewn, to identify a particular group. But sometimes they will have a kind of a free way to sew whatever you like. Sew whatever you like with the fabric, and the group that is trying to identify themselves can sew whatever they like with that particular fabric. It doesn't stop any other person to use that fabric to sew whatever they like, because the company that made it is for everyone. So if a particular group decides to go and buy a particular fabric for their own identity and decide to make it open, sew whatever you like, anybody can sew whatever they like. So whoever that wears such fabric, it's a coincidence, she is wearing like our fabric. Everybody understands. And there are also some groups like the Catholic women organizations that specially produces theirs. Theirs is not found in the market. Usually, they are not supposed to just go to any wholesaler and buy that of a particular recognized group. I want to take, for example, the CWO Women Association. That fabric is specially produced by them, for them rather, sorry, it's specially produced for them by a particular industry. So nobody goes there to buy. So when the industry produces, they call it customization of the fabric in a way. When they ask for it, the industry produces it, the number of bundles that they want, and then hand it over to them. Then they know how to now hand it over to their members, you know. So the company does not have the right to sell that fabric to any other person because it is it's for identity, it's for a particular organization, identity of a particular organization. So nobody wears such if you are not from that particular society or organization. But for the other print fabric, everybody is free to wear. You are free to sew whatever you want to sew. If I see you on the road, I know it's not for me alone. I'm like, oh, coincidence, he's wearing our uniform. So everybody understands it. Yeah.
Thank you. We have a hand up from the online audience.
Okay.
So can I allow to talk?
Yes, please.
Okay. For A16K, please go ahead.
Okay, this is Oladunni Owolabi. I just connected. I was logged out because of the network connection.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you, ma.
All right. So you can join as a panelist again. I have a question.
Yeah.
Can I go ahead? Please?
Yes, please do.
Okay, my question is for Maluchi. Right? So I will start by appreciating your paper. It was, I will say it is well done. I enjoyed every bit of it. It was quite elaborate. You touched on different aspects, and it's very appealing. However, my question is, with the expressive identities, you know, that we use African prints for, and again with the now because your paper did not categorize any particular time, so I am thinking in my head, is there any issue about the shift in times? What I mean is, originally, or you can say post-colonial, African prints were sacrosanct to regular dresses or wrappers and stuff. But with the new generation, it's like due to the freedom of expression and how we are able to do just about anything with African prints. African prints are used for, like our chair said, like it's used for everything and anything. Is it the aim? Is it being achieved, or is it outliving its purpose, or is there any sacred code like for African prints? Even though we are free to show, you know, are we shifting the purpose African print is for by being overly expressive with our prints? You know, I look at the history of African French fabrics. I would say that it's an involved fabric from the beginning. So as times are going, it keeps evolving. So France, the global world, everybody's evolving with it. And I think what we are doing now, I appreciate what Africans are doing. They are incorporating everyone, they're integrating everything into this the involvement of this African fabric. So I think there's any separate thing about it that, oh, the African print must be like this. Let me take an instance. Somebody, and I heard someone saying that Isha is not supposed to be worn by women, that it is, you are making it unsacred. I think it's not Isha. This is not some other kind of traditional African fabric. You understand that if you wear this clothes, you are displaying the way it's supposed to be done. African print is for interpretation, is for expression, and I like how the global community is also taking it up and they are transporting it and using it in various ways. It's actually selling our culture. Thank you.
Hello? Let me chip in a little to that. I don't think we are outstretching its purposes. Rather we are enriching its purposes. Because from what we have today, I don't think there is any person, irrespective of your work, whether you're an artisan or you are a fashion designer, whether you're an artisan or wherever your area of interest is, that is not using print fabric to do one thing or the other. Let's take, for example, the artisans. Almost every aspect of the artisans are using print fabric today to do whatever they are doing. The fashion designers are there. The shoe cobblers are there. The bag makers are there. The accessories, the bead makers, the accessories, earrings, the cap, the hats, every aspect is utilizing that opportunity to use print fabric to the fullest. And what does that bring to us? It enriches our economy. It helps us to grow. It helps the country to grow. When it comes to income, there is a recent research I was trying to make, and it reveals that when it comes to income, presently, the artisans are really being, making it to an extent compared to what it used to be before. Because with print fabrics, they can do whatever they want to do. They can sell their products because it's the in thing, is what is in vogue. People will buy because it's so interesting. The colors are vibrant. When you wear it, everybody wants to appreciate you. So I think we are really utilizing the opportunity to the fullest. And I believe if we continue like this, we'll really go in places. Africa as a continent is actually going places.
We have Rita Pemberton's hand up.
Hello?
Yes, there's a hand up. Rita Pemberton, she's
Okay.
raised her hand. Can you hear us?
Yes,
Dr.
I'm
Rita?
here. Thank you very much. Are you hearing me clearly?
Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you, but we cannot see you.
No. Well, I don't want to be seen.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
I had surgery, so I'm in my bed basically.
It's okay,
Listen, I would like to thank the two presenters because they presented quite a lot of information that has been very stimulating, very informative for me. Now, when we talk about the diaspora, I just want to make it clear, where clothes are concerned, you are talking about different experiences from different diasporan communities. Now, in the Caribbean, the issue of clothes was used, first of all, for enslaved Africans who worked in the Caribbean plantations. The lack of clothes was part of the process of dehumanization, right? And therefore, when people had the opportunity to select their clothes after emancipation and well after emancipation, then they could make choices. However, the first set of choices given was to import European stuff. It is only in the 20th century that people had an exposure to African fabrics. We did not know what were the symbols. We just looked at something we like the colors, we like the pattern, we didn't understand meanings. And this is why I thought the first presentation so highly informative and necessary for us in the Caribbean to understand. I remember going to a market in Ghana being led by a guide who advised us what to buy and what not to buy. He talked about the different kinds of fabric, what was Chinese, what was African print. We did not know the difference. We just saw, we like this, it looked African, so we would buy it. But there was one piece of fabric that I would never forget. He said, do not buy this. It indicates the steps to death. Now, we couldn't understand what that is. We just thought it was a nice pattern. We didn't buy it as we were advised. We didn't know whether that information was accurate or not. So what I want to ask of us in this seminar, how could we get an explanation of the meanings of prints, patterns, and fabric? And you know, there was just this turnaround of this word Ankara all the time in the stores in the Caribbean. And it was African fabric. And suddenly this word Ankara, what does Ankara mean? Can anybody explain that to me? I'm not hearing.
Yes, you can hear you.
I'm not hearing clearly anything.
Is someone talking?
Yeah, we're trying to think about the answer right here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're just talking together. We can hear you. So if you want to say, I'm just trying to, it's just a recent, but it's not all recent. Or young that and like was when my father's land was the original class. I think it's a recent thing that just started going on. When I was younger, I don't think it was an era I usually came out. I don't have land this level, I don't have land this level, but land before because it's much more recent. I can't say that I came from. I have to go into research on that because I know it wasn't because then this was all I'm finding out. Then it was sort of the status the country family. So for you to have because you have to do that so it's the quality sort of reduced. Maybe a great case with the link, but I have not researched that, so I can't do this. I'm just saying it's not my thing.
Okay. Maybe I should just say one or two things about that. Actually, Ankara is a word that is coined from there is this Ghana word for print fabric. I can't place the exact word now because people were not able to call it correctly. That was how Ankara came about. I think it's Adinkra. The word Adinkra is actually, that was how Ankara came about. Because most people didn't pronounce it the way it was Adinkra, so they just called it Ankara. You know, that was how Ankara came to, came about. Print fabric were decided to call print fabric Ankara with that because of that. And with your question, which says, how can Africans be able to bring out these designs, motifs, colors, so I will be able to know which to buy and which not to buy. Well, it's easy, but it's going to take some time because it takes a lot to get that done. Why I said it takes a lot to get that done is that recently, African industries don't only produce African prints. Yes, the Europeans has a way of reproducing these fabrics and then bringing it back to us to buy. These days, you see different types of materials that is being used to produce this Ankara. If you go to the market, you have different types of Ankara. You have the synthetic, you have the pure cotton, you have the synthetic, you have the semi-synthetic, you have the half cotton, half synthetic, you know, together. So there are different grades of Ankara, which not just the European countries produce, the Africans will also produce. We have learned from them. And because producing Ankara with a real cotton fabric is very, very expensive. Before you put all the materials together, most of our countries, we don't produce cotton. So we import cotton fabrics to produce our Ankara. So at the end of the day, by the time we finish production, the fabric is already expensive, so much expensive that an average Nigerian will prefer to go for a synthetic fabric, which has to do with the light ones that they produce these days, that you can just wash in a few minutes, is dried. That is the synthetic Ankara. So these days, except if we, the African countries, can develop to an extent that we have our labels, we have, before, when we produce our fabric, inside the fabric, inside the packaging, there are labels to tell you about this fabric, this particular design, to tell you about what the designs means, to tell you what the logo is what the logo is all about, tell you what the color means. That is the only way I think we will be able to like reach out to the world and tell them that this and this and this. But these days, they come to our country, they pick our designs, they go to their country, they manufacture, you know, cheap fabrics, and they bring it back to us. I mean, in most African countries, like Nigeria, as we speak, so we don't have textile industries anymore here. We just have, the last time in my research, the research I did, I just realized we have just 2 major industries that produces Ankara. And one is into both the pure cotton and the synthetic, because he has to produce synthetic so he can keep the company running, while the other one is into pure cotton. So for us to be able to do this, it takes development. It takes our government to put in so much into our industry, so we'll be able to develop and get beyond and to this extent of making labels, telling about our products. So whoever that buys will be able to say, okay, fine, this is what I bought. These logos are for this, these colors are for this, and you know what you are wearing. So I think, I want to believe we will get to that stage. I think it's just stages. We'll get there when we get there.
Okay, but in the meantime, does Baluchi have something published, or is this paper going to be disseminated that we could use? I mean, we could use a lot of that information that she has provided in the curriculum. I would like if she could say if she has something that's published that we could tap into, or if this paper could be disseminated.
Yeah, that is another way.
Yes.
Get the colors, get the symbols, write about them, disseminate it.
Right.
Yeah. Publish it, then people get to read and know about it.
Yes.
That's a big research.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. I'll look into that. Thank you.
Hey, please, we can't hear. Oh, we can't hear. Please, we can't hear. We can't hear. Should speak up.
No, I'm not talking about it. Snap.
We can't hear anymore.
We have more questions from the online audience. Okay, Chair, maybe we can round up. You don't have questions. Our Chair, can you hear us, please?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Oh, okay. We're wondering if we could round up if we don't have more questions, if that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. That's okay.
Okay, you can close us, please.
Yeah. I want to thank everyone for coming to these sections, those that are present in LSA, those that are online, like people like us. The presentations was awesome. Thank you, presenters. You all hit the nail on the head. I really, really enjoy your works. You made so much, research. I think with that, with no questions, we have come to the end of these sections. And I want to urge us to keep in touch. We have our emails, we can ask questions, we can still connect, even when we are leaving LSA and leaving the section, we have not left ourselves. So with this, I say goodbye to everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Goodbye, and thank you very much. It was very informative. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Say bye-bye.
Bye.